She laughed as she sent the invitation, never thinking he would actually come. To her it was just a joke, a moment of entertainment for her wealthy friends. The poor driver who waited outside her mansion every day, silent and respectful, was never meant to step into her world. He was invited to the grand party to be mocked, to remind everyone where he belonged, or so she thought. On the night of the event, the room was filled with expensive suits, sparkling dresses, and quiet whispers of power and status. The rich lady stood proudly, ready to enjoy the attention. Her guests smiled, already expecting an awkward scene when the driver arrived. They imagined worn shoes, lowered eyes, and embarrassment written across his face. But when the doors slowly opened, the laughter faded. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Every head turned as the driver walked in, calm and confident, carrying himself in a way no one expected. There was something different about him tonight, something that made the room feel suddenly smaller. The rich lady's smile froze. Her heart skipped as she realized this was no joke anymore. The man she thought she knew wasn't who he seemed, and as he took his next step forward, one question filled the room. Who was he really, and what was he about to reveal? No one spoke as he moved further into the room. The music kept playing, but it felt distant, almost out of place. The rich lady watched him closely, her mind racing back to the mornings when he waited patiently by the car, dressed simply, never asking questions. He had always been polite, always quiet, always invisible. Seeing him now made her uneasy, as if she had overlooked something important all along. The driver remembered those same days differently. He had learned to stay silent, not because he was weak, but because listening taught him more than speaking ever could. Every ride through the city showed him two worlds living side by side, wealth and struggle, pride and patience. Tonight was the first time those worlds crossed openly, and the tension in the room made his chest tighten. Whispers began to spread among the guests. Some recognized his face, others felt a strange familiarity they couldn't explain. His clothes were simple but neat, his posture steady, his eyes clear and focused. This was not the man they expected to laugh at. The rich lady took a small step back, suddenly unsure of herself. She wondered what stories he carried, what past he had hidden behind silence. As he stopped near the center of the room and slowly looked around, it became clear he hadn't come to be mocked. He had come for a reason, and whatever it was, the night was far from over. From the corner of the room, an older guest narrowed his eyes, studying the driver more carefully. There was something familiar about his face, something that didn't belong in the role he was supposed to play. He leaned toward another guest and whispered a name, but the music swallowed the words. Still, the unease spread. This was no longer just a rich lady's joke. It felt like a mistake that had walked in on its own. The driver's thoughts stayed calm on the surface, but inside, memories stirred. He remembered the day he accepted the job, the way people stopped seeing him once he wore a uniform. Being a poor driver gave him cover, time, and access to places where powerful people spoke freely. Tonight, every step he took carried the weight of choices made long ago, choices that led him here. Across the room, the rich lady's friends watched closely. Some felt curious, others defensive. One woman crossed her arms, already planning to distance herself if things went wrong. A man with a sharp smile pulled out his phone, sensing a story worth recording. The room was divided between those who felt threatened and those who felt exposed. The rich lady finally met the driver's eyes. In that brief moment, she saw neither anger nor shame, only quiet control. Her chest tightened with a feeling she hadn't known before, fear of losing control. Whatever secret stood between them was about to shift power, and everyone in the room could feel it, waiting for the moment it would break the silence. The air felt heavier with every second that passed. Glasses clinked, but no one was drinking. The driver stood still, as if waiting for an unspoken signal, while the rich guests shifted in their seats. The party that was meant to celebrate wealth and status had turned into a quiet test of pride and patience. Every eye followed him, wondering what move he would make next. A staff member approached the rich lady and whispered something in her ear. Her face lost a bit of color as she glanced toward the entrance, then back at the driver. She had planned this night carefully, yet something was slipping beyond her control. The driver's presence alone was enough to shake the balance she relied on. From another angle, a young waiter recognized him from somewhere else, not as a driver. But from a moment that didn't fit the story, everyone believed. The waiter hesitated, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. One word could change the mood of the room forever. The driver finally took a slow step forward. His shoes echoed against the floor, each sound sharp and deliberate. Conversations stopped completely now. Even the music faded away. He looked directly at the rich lady, as if measuring her, as if giving her one last chance. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. The truth sat between them, close enough to touch, and just as the driver drew a breath, ready to break the silence, the doors behind him opened again, bringing an unexpected presence that pushed the night. To the edge of chaos, all eyes turned to the entrance as the new guests stepped inside. Their presence instantly changed the mood of the room. They weren't dressed like partygoers, and they didn't look impressed by the luxury around them. One of them scanned the crowd with quiet authority, then stopped the moment his gaze landed on the driver. A slow, knowing look passed between them, one that didn't go unnoticed. The rich lady felt her stomach drop. She hadn't invited these people. Whispers rose again, sharper this time, filled with questions and unease. Someone mentioned the word investigation under their breath, while another guest quickly checked their phone, panic flashing across their face. The driver remained calm, but his jaw tightened slightly, as if the timing wasn't part of his plan. One of the newcomers took a step forward and addressed the room, his voice low but firm. He spoke about a long-running financial scheme, hidden behind luxury events and powerful names. Every sentence felt like a thread being pulled loose. The rich lady's confidence crumbled as she realized this night was no longer about mocking a poor driver. It was about exposure. The driver finally spoke, his voice steady, carrying across the room. He didn't look at the guests. He looked only at her. "This is why I came," he said quietly. Gasps followed, and the tension reached its peak. As the newcomers moved deeper into the room, the truth hovered on the edge, ready to fall, and no one knew who would be left standing when it did. The room finally broke into chaos as the truth came out. The newcomers revealed documents, names, and quiet deals hidden behind charity dinners and private parties. One by one, powerful guests realized they were no longer protected by money or status. The rich lady stood frozen as her carefully built image collapsed in front of everyone she had tried to impress. The joke she planned had turned into her public undoing. The driver stepped forward, no longer invisible. He explained how he had taken the job years ago, not out of desperation, but to gather proof. Driving quietly through wealthy neighborhoods, listening without being noticed, had given him everything he needed. He wasn't there for revenge. He was there for accountability. The guests watched in stunned silence as the balance of power shifted completely. The investigation team moved in, calmly escorting a few people aside. The party was over. The rich lady's eyes filled with regret as she finally understood how deeply she had underestimated him. Apologies formed on her lips, but they came too late. Just as the room began to breathe again, the driver paused at the door. He turned back and revealed one last truth. He wasn't just part of the investigation, he now owned the company funding it, having inherited it weeks earlier. The poor driver everyone mocked had become the most powerful person in the room, and with that, he walked away, leaving them to face what came next. The mansion felt empty once the doors closed behind him. The guests who remained spoke in low voices, no longer bragging, no longer laughing. Some left quietly, ashamed and shaken. Others stayed behind, forced to face the truth they had helped hide for years. The rich lady sat alone, staring at the space where the driver had stood, realizing how pride had blinded her. What she thought was power had been nothing more than a costume. In the days that followed, the story spread everywhere. Headlines talked about a poor driver, a secret investigation, and the fall of powerful people who believed money made them untouchable. The driver never gave interviews. He returned to a quiet life, choosing purpose over praise. Those who once ignored him now spoke, his name with respect. The rich lady sold the mansion and stepped away from the life she once flaunted. For the first time, she learned to listen instead of judge. The joke that was meant to humiliate someone had become her greatest lesson. In the end, the story wasn't about wealth or status. It was about how easily people underestimate others based on appearances. The poor driver proved that silence can hide strength, and kindness can coexist with power. Sometimes, the ones we overlook are the ones who change everything.